You, Luke, use the force. It is in you. Mr. Soundman. I'll keep trying. He's got to keep. Other way. Keep going. Test. Test. Test, test. Test. Oh, now I'm nobody. Just a little bit more. A little more? A little more. They upgraded them? You got to talk. Okay. Can you guys hear me? Like over the things or? Okay. We'll try. If you guys can't hear me, you're probably blessed. Yeah, I'd like to welcome you all out to our meeting tonight. Actually, you know what? Before we get started, everyone take your microphone and just give it a shot and make sure we're good.
Okay.
Test. Yeah.
Test.
Test, test. Test.
Test.
Test.
Okay, we're all good. I guess it was just my the reverb. We'd like to welcome you all to our school board meeting tonight. Let's see here. We'll start with a roll call. Jen?
President Carnation.
Here?
Vice President Bill Adams.
Here.
Trustee Heights.
Here.
Student Board Member Kai Heflin.
Here.
Malinali and Stephanie are absent.
Yes. All right, we'll have the flag salute by me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one. All righty, thank you. Actually, I want to take a half a step back on the roll call. Just want to let everybody know, we had our normal board meeting last Thursday, and we couldn't have it all the way because we had some illnesses and what have you. And just want to let everybody know here and at home that Trustee Ahmad, Stephanie, had a little medical issue that she's taken care of, had some surgery, and is doing really well. And we just want to continue to send all of our best wishes, prayers, and thoughts with her. She's doing well, and we know that the community is all helping, and very thankful that she's having some really good success with her treatments. And then also Malinali, she had an issue that came up over the weekend, so she wasn't able to be here tonight. So we wish them all both good health. And we're going to miss them tonight, but that's why they're not here. Superintendent, I want to report out of closed session. We have two issues. The board, we have voted, and we are extending our ENA with Lewis Homes, Lewis Acquisition Company, on the agreement that we have in place for the Windsor Creek site. We're extending that by another 120 days so we can continue to do a little more research and work on that. And we've extended that for 120 days. And then Superintendent Jeremy, you have something to report out as well?
Yep. So in consideration of student expulsion case number 030322, is there a motion for the findings of fact?
I'll move that we accept the findings of fact.
I'll make the second motion.
Thank you.
And
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
2 absent. In consideration of student expulsion case number 030322, is there a motion to uphold the principal's recommendation for expulsion?
I move to uphold the principal's recommendation for expulsion.
And I too will make the second on the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And none against? 2 absent.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All righty. I'll sign that in a minute. All righty. 3.1, are there any adjustments to the agenda or schedule that we need to do? Anybody? I just want to make mention, if it's okay with my other trustees, we're going to, down the road, just so people can prepare a little bit, we're going to get to discussion action item 6.1, where we're going to talk about consideration approval of climate committee for change proposal. I would like you guys to get to make your presentation, but I'd like to also maybe have you guys come back to our next board meeting, and we may do that again. I want to make sure I want our whole board here when we proceed with that, if that's okay with y'all. So, all right, out of respect for the other two on that issue, I think it's something that's important enough that we should get all 5 people's thoughts and consideration. So, anyhow, just throwing that out there. Any other adjustments or thoughts? Okay. 3.2, celebrating success. Heather Cullen and Windsor High School Odyssey of the Minds. And Callie, come on up.
So our Odyssey of the Mind team at the high school, when it's
They, if you can, I know you have to lean down, but they said to try and, there you go. Or yeah, more into the microphone so they can hear.
This is part of the final test to see if you go to Iowa. Just saying.
Okay, so Odyssey of the Mind is a kind of like interesting thing that not a lot of people have heard about, but the basics of it is it's a problem-solving competition. So each year, teams are given like a set of problems they can pick from. There's always a problem that's based on making sense of the vehicle. There's some that are based on vehicle structure, and a lot that are just a skit. So for each of those, you have to make the 8-minute skit that solves this problem or fits into their theme. So a good example of that is one year it was based on, it was a detective year. So what we had to do
So glad. Okay.
The button.
Jackson, I have a sore throat, so I'm going to probably not talk as much tonight, so we have plenty of time. Lucifer's back.
I've got a question. So when you go to the next level competition, is this performance going to remain or do you have to do something new?
Actually, we went through a week before the regional.
I think we would like to take a picture with all of you, but I got to tell you, I think we're approving your trip. It's Iowa State, right? Oh, that's good. That's what you're really here marketing for is item 4.3, so you can go. I've served as a judge, both of the long problems and the SPONT for years in an Odyssey, and congratulations. This is a massive deal that you guys are going. So congratulations. I felt like I was in graduate school getting a government class, and thank you for your fearlessness. But I also want to thank you all as being sort of the examples, because I know you all have done this before, and we cultivate, I know Heather has done this, we cultivate this program quietly at the lower grades, whereas you said, I think very eloquently, it brings, clusters of students that may not have otherwise, sometimes they're not the leaders in whatever they do. As you said, you may not have interacted with each other, and I think what a wonderful way to find the strengths that you can do. So thank you and congratulations.
Thanks. No, ma'am. So if we can get all y'all to come on up for a little picture, just real quick. Yeah, Heather, come on. I just want to say, Heather, speed of the leader, speed of the team. Thank you for all the effort that you put into these guys. And Jackson, I heard Jackson the other night at our LCAP meeting, and Jackson is sharp and he's funny and he's really good. And he kept reminding me of somebody and I couldn't place it. And it finally hit me tonight when you were talking and doing your little rap. A young Conan O'Brien. I don't know. I think it's the intelligence and the wit together and the hair and bright things coming. All right, let's go. Yeah, come on up.
Okay, and then you two. Okay, can you and then put yourself in between. Oh, that's better. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, we're trying to shift those. Okay, good. Thanks again.
Thank you guys.
Pretty much.
Heather, you said that you raised the money that you need, but did you raise all the money you need, including shipping and those kind of things too? So we're all solid all the way. All righty, great. Thank you. All righty. Great. Okay, now thank you again. We're gonna move to 3.3 public comment on open session. I'm gonna read a little something real quick. Since we're kind of all getting used to coming back together and whatever, I want to kind of remind folks a little bit of what's kind of been the norm, but it's been protocols, what do you want to call it? But it's been so long since we've kind of done it. I want to read this, just kind of remind everybody, and I might do this for a couple meetings and then we'll stop after that, unless I need to remind everybody. Anyhow, so it says, excuse me, 3.3, public comment, open session. Any person may address the board on any consent item any consent action item or any item not listed on the agenda. Pursuant to the Brown Act, during this period, the board is not allowed to consider issues or take action on any item not listed on the agenda. We ask that the public comment be spoken into the microphone from the podium in accordance with Business Professions Code 9323. Individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item. The board shall limit the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. With board consent, the president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation, depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. The president may take a poll of speakers for or against a particular issue and may ask that additional person speak only if they have something new to add. With that said, I'd like to open up 3.3 public comment. If there's anybody here that would like to speak on something that's not on the agenda, please come forward, and that's the microphone. Did I read all that for nothing? Maybe I should have asked if anybody had something to speak. Then I did it. Anyhow. Anyhow. All right. Do you have a comment? Oh, come on up. Okay, so basically, well, here, correct me if I'm not wrong. So if it's on the agenda, we wait till we get to that item, and then we do the public speaking, right? Okay, just want to make sure I had it right myself. Okay, I will read that for quite some time. I might even share with my friends up here and let them do it too. Anyhow, thank you. We're going to move to number 3.4, report from student board member Kai.
All right, thank you, Rich. If I could get my presentation, my PowerPoint showed up on the screen so that everybody can see it. All right, thank you. Hello, my name is Kai Heflin. I'm the student board member for the Windsor Unified School District. This is my student board member report for April 25th for the regular board meeting. Next slide, please. So I don't have a survey or anything too important, but I do have some quite important things I would like to share and update everybody on. So tomorrow, on Tuesday, April 26th at 3 p.m., there will be the Sonoma County Superintendent Candidate Forum, and I will actually be one of the panelists on there, and I'll be asking the candidates a couple questions. And if you can make it, there'll be nice to have as many people to come. It's at the Teacher Learning Center at the SCO office near the airport. And the next topic is on May 26th at 6 p.m. at the Windsor High School Theater. There will be a free social media safety education for families. And this will be in joint with the Windsor Police Department and the Poly Class Foundation. And so pretty much this is just be talking about experts on the field of social media safety. And so that you and your children, or if you're a student, you can also understand how to stay safe online and in the real world. And the next item is just a little update for everybody, because I know that there's also students who also are being interested in the position for the next academic year. And we're in the works for getting the email and some other information sent out to the next incoming students at 9, 10, 11, 12th grade students at Windsor High School, North Bennett, Windsor Oaks Academy, and North County Consortium. And so just look out for that if you're a student for next year. And that's all I have, and thank you for your attention.
Love to hear your question. You just need to come to the front. Thanks.
Just wondering about that forum, because I have a meeting until 4:30 tomorrow. How do can we watch it? Is there going to be recorded, or is there going to be any way to find out about the superintendent candidate forum?
Regarding whether or not it will be filmed, is that your question, or recorded?
Or somehow to get a report from it, because we'd love to hear the student voice from that.
I do not have any information on that. I could direct you. I'd possibly asking the maybe. I mean, to be honest, I don't know whether or not it's going to be recorded.
So check with SCO. Check with SCO.
Yeah, you check with SCO on the website too. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions on this? Great. Thank you, Kai. All righty. 3.5, Superintendent's Report. Superintendent Decker.
Sorry.
Anything for,
No presentation.
okay, we're
Just a
okay.
report. So I wanted to highlight two things that we're working on in the district right now. One of them is some work that we did today. We spent the majority of our day with Pat Greco, who's a consultant that we're working with for organizational excellence. So what that means is we're looking at all of our systems, processes, feedback, and trying to get better at getting better for the district. And today we reviewed some of our employee engagement survey results. So in March, we sent out the survey. We had 288 people reply to the survey in the district. And we're going to go through and break those results down by site, by department. Today, we really were doing big picture kind of results. Tomorrow, we break it down by the sites. But it's very interesting to look at and really do some reflection. So what we're looking at specifically is really we have an overall mean. So we have, I think it's about 15 questions. And we have, all the way from strongly disagree to strongly agree. Okay, we want to push our mean, our average score to 4.5, which means that the majority of people are saying agree or strongly agree. So far, based on what we've learned, is we're at about 3.5. So we have mixed feelings is 3, and then agree is 4. So based on just, all of this data together, we're about a 3.5. And so this is our baseline, and we hope to get better every single year. But I wanted to really highlight it because we really are doing something with this data. People took the time to answer these questions, give us great comments, and all those comments were sent to principals today so that they could kind of reflect, and we got to get better at getting better, right? So I just wanted to share that because it's a significant investment that the district has made to work with Pat Greco, a very experienced superintendent. And I think today was really the day where I saw everything kind of come into focus. So we've been going through this process, but now I can see exactly how this is going to help us as we move forward through this process. So I'll have a better update, something with presentation and all of these different things for this data, but I thought I'd give you a preview because I actually thought today was really, really good. I think that we had really good energy in the room, and we all learned a little bit more about the district and how we can become a better functioning organization. I also wanted to highlight that some work that hasn't started yet, but it's been something we've discussed. So we had our special board meeting where we really talked about, course offerings historically, and we talked a little bit about VAPA, we talked about CTE, and really we realized that we're in a lot of different places as a board, as a district, as individuals. And I wanted to do something in our district to really get to know our community better and to figure out what we want for all of our students. And so I've reached out to SCO and Dan Blake specifically so that we could create our own portrait of a graduate. Sonoma County Office of Education a couple of years ago spent a considerable amount of time to go through and really get feedback from all areas of the county. And I thought it was a great process and really figured out what we're looking for in our county. I don't know why we wouldn't do that for our school district as well. We have so many varying opinions. We have so many students. So we want to engage in this. And, we don't want to drag this out forever, right? So we have a quick turnaround. So I wanted to at least explain to you some of the beginning stages. So we want to you always have a driving team that's going to push this work forward, somewhere between 6 and 8 people. And so I'm going to try to identify who those people are. We want a representative from every school site, a mix of admin, teachers, whatever it may be classified. And then we're going to try to get that group finalized, hopefully between May 2nd and the 6th. And then we're going to figure out a way, and I don't know how we're doing this yet, but we're going to figure out a way to do some sort of introductory presentation to the staff, just so they know what we're doing. Because not too many people, I haven't shared much of this besides with you guys and some of my cabinet and principals, but hoping to be able to say, this is what we're working on, and then hopefully get people to be interested to be on the design team. And we want to get all of this done before the year is out, so that we can really start fresh next year doing a lot of community outreach and figuring out who we want to be. So just want to give you a little preview because it will be a significant time investment over the next year or so. And if you have any questions, please ask them, but we'll be working on this. There's plenty of other things I could go through, but I thought those were 2 things that should be highlighted from my update.
Yeah, just a thought. Thank you, Jeremy. I was thinking more looking at our 4 friends who are in the second row that just gave us the daddy of democracy. to maybe make sure that we have, as our outgoing seniors are going out the door. How many of you are seniors? All of you?
No.
Oh, well, never mind then. Okay. To capture that. Then I'll talk about alumni stuff in a minute. But for anybody, you'll be back at Worlds next year. But to really, as a keeping point, to not lose asking the class of 22 what they think, right? There'll be
100%.
400 kids that are heading out the door, and ask those ones and just make a point of that so we don't lose that feedback. And there may be some of them, frankly, if they're going to be around and in the neighborhood, would want to be involved next year, even if they're alumni. And that may be something that you put in there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak to anything that the superintendent talked about? Or y'all bring it back in? All right, we're going to move to 3.6, Staff Association reports. Do we have some comment, Pete? Okay.
Pete Stefanisco, WDEA President. First of all, I'd like to thank you for your work on the tentative agreement. The district and the board, I know, put a lot of hard work into it and stretched yourselves a bit to make you uncomfortable, which is what we wanted from the start. So it passed, not as by big a margin as maybe anticipated, but it still passed. And so that is good news, I think, for everybody, even those who may have some concerns about it. I think it'll be fine in the future, and good thing to move forward for Windsor. It puts us in a different direction. So thank you. Also, you will be working with a new exec board next year that all four of us currently in position will not be running next year. So there'll be all new president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary next year. So we're in the midst of getting nominations for that and voting by like May 12th or so. So by then we should know.
Okay.
And that's it.
I just want to thank you, Pete, for you and your other members of the group for the hard work that you guys put in. I think there was a lot of stretching by everybody. So I appreciate that. How long have you been?
Since 2000. So I've probably spent more time in this room than at board meetings than anybody else over the years. It's been a while. So I've seen, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 superintendents, all new board members, new principals, I think at every site now. So it's been a lot of change, but it's been good. And we've tried to build community rather than tear things down. And so I hope we did a little bit of that along the way.
And that's why I kind of wanted to bring it up, because I met you a long time ago when I first started coaching. I know that you've been doing this for a long time, not only just teaching, but also doing extra things to help make forward. And I just want you to know that I appreciate it. A lot of people appreciate the extra time that you've put in over this year's 22 years? 22 years is a long time, Pete, to be doing the extra things. And I just want you to know that everyone appreciates it. And there's a lot of things that you've done over the years that teachers that don't even work here yet are going to be the beneficiaries of. And so anyhow, we appreciate your time. It's that added value and the kind demeanor that you have, kind but stern demeanor that everyone appreciates. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for your leadership, Pete. Perhaps you could have, and we could figure out in early times, you wouldn't have to sit for the whole meeting, but I would love if you could have all four of you from the executive team maybe come at our next meeting, and we'll do a formal recognition. If you were at 22, I was trying to do a math in my head. It's not 100 years altogether, but there's decades and decades and decades of experience and sweat and effort. And so thank you for that. And we hope to have you come with the rest of your crew next time.
Yeah, we'll have retirements next meeting too.
Yes.
So that might be a good time for all of us to be here too.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Pete. I've been on both sides of your job and understand the
Yes.
difficulties and the pleasures of what you do to help your union. And it's very powerful, and I appreciate it. And I'm sure many of your teachers will miss your leadership. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pete.
Brad?
Hi, I'm Brad Freeland, CSCA Chapter President. My term goes through December, so you're stuck with me until then. However, I will not be running, but I will still be involved as past president. So I'm kind of in an advisory role at that point. I can't speak to anything locally at this point because we're still in negotiations, but I do want to address some of the things that are going on at the state level. Our union has sponsored 6 different bills, and I will be doing lobby days tomorrow and Wednesday trying to get support for these bills. The number one bill is SB 878, which funds transportation separately from the school district. So it will be 100% funded if it passes, which would be phenomenal, which also gives the district more money to spend that they won't be spending on transportation out of the general budget. So that's really good news. The others I won't speak to at this time. However, I'm really busy at the state level. So I thank you for your support.
Thank you, Brad. Any comments from anybody in the public regarding these staff reports? Alrighty. Thanks, Brad. Appreciate it. Alrighty, moving on to 3.7 board trustee reports. I've got one on you guys. I just want to kind of give a little shout out to our principal at Brooks, Annette. My wife and some of her friends went and did a Pioneer History Day over at Brooks, and it was a lot of work to set up the day before. They had all kinds of, it was really well done. Even, I mean, not to, anyhow, probably didn't sound right. But all I know is that Annette did a great job. She really made sure that we had the facilities. We were able to get in early, set things up, have all our kids come out and enjoy a day where they were learning all kinds of things about Pioneer history, whatever. It was really good. And the whole staff at Brooks did a great job helping. But again, I like to use that phrase, speed of the leader, speed of the team. And Annette was very helpful in making sure all the hurdles that we had to go through were taken care of. And it was a really good day. The kids had a great time. And now they actually kind of want to go back, and they did it for one class. And so now they're thinking about next year coming back and doing it, setting it up for maybe a week where they can do it for all the different classes. So it's something that's kind of growing probably, and it's good for the kids. And it's always nice when the leadership at each campus really puts a lot of extra effort into the enrichments opportunities that the kids can have. And so anyhow, I just wanted to thank Annette and the staff for helping out with that. It was really, really good for the kids. All righty, we'll move to 3.8, approval of minutes for February the 10th, February 17th, and March the 3rd. Do we need to have a motion for each?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from February 10th, February 17th, and March 3rd of 2022.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And 2 absent. All right.
302 and a plus for
Yep. 302 plus 1. All right, very good. Thank you. I'm going to turn this consent items over to Bill.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a long list today. Consent items 4.1 through 4.22. We still have people in the second row waiting eagerly for 4.3 and a trip to Iowa State to be approved. They're smiling. I would make a motion. I am not aware of any conflicts or any recusals by anyone to pull any. Okay. I would make a motion then that consent action items numbers 4.1 through 4.22 be approved as submitted on the agenda with the supporting materials.
I'll second that motion.
Ask if there's any questions.
Are there any questions discussion on the consent items from the audience? All righty, seeing none, I'll bring it back. Okay. All righty, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? All righty, so it's 302 plus 1. All right, thank you. All righty, so that's there. So now,
You can support your fellow classmates on the next one.
all righty, so now we're going to move to Section 5.1, Youth Truth Survey Results. Lisa Saxon, Director of Educational Services.
Going my own day, so sit
Alrighty. So, as you may recall, this year we transitioned away from our local LCAP survey that we've been administering since the 13-14 school year, LCAP inception year, to staff, parents, and students in grades 5 through 12. This year, we started the Youth Truth Survey instead. So the Youth Truth Survey also surveys parents, staff, and students in actually grades 3 through 12, so captured a couple of more grade levels. And what I think I want you to know about tonight's presentation is that it is jam-packed with data, filters, all different kinds of ways to look at things. It could go on forever. But in the interest of time for this evening's presentation, I'm only going to capture the survey items that are directly connected to identified metrics in the current LCAP and how they are crosswalking, hopefully. All right. So in January, the survey went out. 5,455 people participated across all three of those groups that I discussed earlier. They're disaggregated down below. So last year, 38% of parents took the survey. This year we were up to 43. Students were 68 last year. This year up to 86. And 50% of staff last year. This year up to 87. So increased participation, which is a great thing. Here's the big disclaimer that I mentioned earlier. So there's an attempt to create a crosswalk between our metrics and the way we used to ask the questions in the survey compared to how they are brought forth in the Youth Truth Survey. It's not a perfect match. I'll just tell you that right now. So really what we will be doing this evening is I'm going to give you the best estimate of how they connect crosswalk-wise and basically let you know that we're establishing a new baseline because we're going to have to, if we're going to use Youth Truth as comparative data to take a look at growth over time. Okay? All right. So one of the metrics in our LCAP has to do with our Spanish-speaking parents, and in the old LCAP or the current, it was 90 or 95% agree or strongly agree on the survey prompt. There is someone I can communicate with in my home language. So last year that was 94%. And Youth Truth doesn't have a question like that per se. However, what you do see below is that when they ask parents questions about receiving feedback about their kids' progress, information about what they should learn, our teachers clearly communicating expectations, that overall, and that's another trick about Youth Truth, is they break things out with elementary, middle, and high school, which in some ways is a good thing and in some ways is a little tricky because the questions sometimes come at those audiences differently, and so you can't group all the district data together and say, overall, this is our student aggregate. However, in this particular question, you can see that Spanish-speaking parents, by and large, are much more in agreement, agree or strongly agree with those three statements than their English-speaking counterparts, which is a connection to positivity and to satisfaction. Bill, did you have a question?
I did. So when we designate Spanish here, are those families that self-identify in Aries?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
As opposed to someone that may have an ethnic designation of Hispanic or whatnot. This is a limited subset.
Exactly.
Okay. That they're self-identified. Okay.
Good question. All righty. So this one is one that's disaggregated by age group. So you can see up there elementary students, and it's around agreeing or strongly agreeing with the statement that teachers and other adults work hard to help them with their schoolwork when they need it. So the prompt is different. Elementary is asked the question, which is 3rd through 5th grade, does your teacher give you extra help if you need it? And you can see the percentage of students who say yes very often. I would put less emphasis on that second 2021 because we kind of experimented with the survey last year with students. So if I were going to compare something, I would compare the top line where 39% of students said yes very often to the county, which is the third line below, where 47% of Sonoma County students in grades 3 through 5 who took the survey said yes very often in response to that statement. So it potentially shows us some room for growth in our district. And then that same question comes to middle school students, but it slightly changes in that because middle school and high school students have multiple teachers, how many of your teachers are willing to give you extra help on schoolwork if you need it overall. And in this particular question, we would want to pay attention to the moderate amount or the orange bars and the green, which is all teachers, and kind of add those two together. And you can see how we, again, compare down to that third line with Sonoma County schools. Same question this time with high school students. Again, paying attention to orange and green on line 1 compared to orange and green on line 3. And it's not that I'm ignoring the last line. Average of youth truth schools means the national average. All right, so then we took a look at the survey-related metrics by goal. So that's what I'm going to go through next. And again, it's just the metrics that we chose in the past that specifically related to our survey data. So in this one, in the current LCAP, it's around students agreeing or strongly agreeing that the school is motivating them to learn. If we look at elementary school students, the shift is, does your teacher want you to do your best? So not surprisingly, in elementary, particularly when you go down to the littles around 3rd grade, generally speaking, kids of that age group, they love their school, they love their teachers, they love their principal, and all is well in the world. It's when they get to 5th and up that they start getting a little bit more honest with us about what they really think. So this, not surprisingly, is high. And then when we go to middle school students, we see a drop, and that's not necessarily a cause for concern. Again, you have to consider the developmental age of the students being asked the question. However, when we also just look at it simply for what it is, and we compare 48% this year with 68% last year, a little cause for alarm and room for growth. And then that same prompt for high school students, 53%. Agreeing or strongly agreeing with that statement. So we'll establish a new baseline based on those 3 metrics and roll it forward into the out years. All right, so this one is a little bit even more tricky because the prompt in our old survey was around students being college career ready. So 28% of parents last year and 17% of students indicated that they were unsure about that. So we took instead just the high school student response to the prompts that you see in front of you and broke them down into their satisfaction areas. So again, more room for growth and really and truly establishing a new baseline, because this one's pretty far out from what the original question was that we asked. Eric?
Yeah, I don't know the answer, so I'm going to ask, it says typical Sonoma school, and a couple other slides prior, it said, Sonoma County average. Do we know which schools or how many of the schools are doing this, or is it a mandate by the county? How is that set up?
It was not a mandate by the county. Sorry. It was not a mandate by the county. It was a huge encouragement by the county, though, and I'm going to show you that at the very last slide. I think that's where I have that metric. Oh, that's much better. You can actually see that little print now. All right. Next one. So this one is about high school families. So the initial goal was around the parents and they're around college career readiness. And instead, the prompt in the Youth Truth Survey for parents is, my school has the resources necessary to prepare my child for the future. Again, kind of a far stretch. So really reestablishing baseline for next year. Goal 3, school environment. So you remember this one. The school is providing a safe and positive learning environment, and 83% of parents and staff agreed or strongly agreed with this statement in last year's survey. The questions, as close as we could get them in Youth Truth, are the 2 prompts. My school is a safe place to learn, and you can see the satisfaction rate for elementary, middle, and high school of families. And then that same, not the same, but with staff, students are safe from violence at my school. So, on the one hand, one takeaway could be, ooh, that looks like a pretty significant drop. However, really, if we're being fair, we just need to establish a new baseline and a new growth goal, and then see next year how it looks in comparison with the same prompt. All right, so this is about the trusted adults one, and we used to, as you know, just pull 5th through 12th grade as an aggregate, and 74% of students agreed or strongly agreed with that statement in last year's LCAP survey. This year, it's broken out elementary, middle, high school. What you see in front of you is elementary, and it's the prompt is slightly different. When I'm feeling upset, there is an adult from school I can talk to. So 54% of elementary school students, so 3rd through 5th graders, agreed or strongly agreed with that statement. In middle school, the prompt changes a little bit. When I'm feeling upset, stressed, or having problems, there is an adult from school who I can talk to about it, 38%. And again, developmentally, we know that middle school students, it's around that age level, 12 years old, 6th grade-ish, where the emphasis of influence, the parents and the friends swap places, right? So, or adults swap places. So it's not totally surprising that this dropped in comparison to elementary. And then the same prompt for high school, 39%. So middle and high about the same, and then elementary higher. All right, and our last goal, seeking input and participation. So 72% of parents responded, agreed or strongly agreed last year. This year, the prompts are parent and family members are included in planning school activities, and I feel empowered to play a meaningful role in decision-making at my school. So a pretty significant drop on those two if you compare to last year. However, there was one pretty astute perception shared at one of our LCAP core committee meetings where we unpacked this same data. And due to COVID and the safety restrictions and the protocols that we had to put in place, one parent reminded us that to date, she had never seen the inside of her kids' classrooms, even because they're not allowed on campus. And so it made us pause a bit about the realities of why perhaps that data looks the way that it does this year. And it'll be interesting to see comparatively it increase next year. So that's a whole lot of stuff to read. And basically, it's all of the subgroups that we disaggregated by. And so the takeaway, I'm not going to bore you with all of that small print up there. But bottom line, we, again, gathered feedback from 5,455 community members out of an eligible population of 8,592. So the response rate is about 63%. It's a pretty darn good response rate on a survey. Our parent response rate increased from 38 last year to 43 this year, which is all in the right direction. And we still need to walk through and actually disaggregate by all of those demographic subgroups that we talked about. Questions?
Yeah, actually, I had one. If you could go back a couple to the one question where the next one, yeah, this is I feel empowered to play a meaningful role in the decision making of my school. Did it break down questions such as, in areas like academics, facilities, administration, those kind of things? It was just more of that general.
I think so.
Because 38 and 30%, to me, it seems like a low number. Well, everybody, it's a low number, but it seems especially a low number for that particular type of a question. Because I've always felt, just as a plain old regular, dad, that, and most other people that I've talked to, that we always felt like when we would go and talk to somebody at the school about something, that there was always some, I don't want to say action, but there was some sort of a response that things went more positively in areas that you could. Sometimes you can't do certain things. And a lot of times when we'd go and ask about something or think something, we'd get more information, find out that what we were looking for was already considered, and there was reasons why we couldn't do that. So I learned along that way as well. So I'm curious as to if there's a little deeper dive, whatever they call it, if we can figure out, like sometimes when they do surveys, they'll say, if you answer yes or whatever, then it drops to another subcategory that kind of would hone in more on, because I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of curious as to what it is that, if there was one thing or one region or one type of a thing, or one or two or something where parents are kind of feeling they can't. And I wonder what that area might be. Because I mean, all of us get a lot of emails and messages from parents and things like that. And, that's probably the most surprising of the different replies. So I was just curious if there was more information.
I think your question's a good one, Rich. There's a few ways we could go about taking a deeper look, and one might be through our school site council meetings, so principals can solicit more direct feedback around that question. Tell me more, dig a little deeper. LCAP core committee is another good place to invite that question and ask more questions. Another thing that's interesting, just today we were talking about this with regard to the survey that Jeremy was addressing earlier with the staff, and that is around two-way communication. So the degree to which we ask for input and we survey parents and we ask them to tell us things, but how well of a job are we doing sending back, here's what we did as a result of your input, and making sure that people understand what that is. And it could stand to improve, perhaps.
And it may very likely be, I'm not going to be an expert on this survey. I wasn't a big part of it this year, but it very well could likely be that, the current at the top there says that the school regularly seeks input and participation. That doesn't mean the parents are all giving. They're just knowing that the school is seeking it. And then the last question you were speaking of, Rich, that says, I feel empowered to play a meaningful role. I think the majority of our families trust that the school are the experts and don't necessarily want to get into the weeds. And they may have picked not strongly agree or agree. They might have put indifferent or the middle range on that kind of a question, and it wouldn't show up as a big percentage that way. I don't know that that's accurate, but
I think it's an
seen that
interesting
before.
perspective. I think there's also two pretty big power words in that statement: empowered and meaningful. Unpacking those and getting a sense of what's your perception of that when we say that, what does that mean to you, would be really interesting, which kind of goes back to your point, Rich, is let's dig a little deeper and get a little more information.
Could you go back to the high school parent answer on 39%?
This one's students.
Yeah, and middle school was 38 and high school was 39. I don't recall that we had something in the legacy LCAP survey that asked students that similar kind of question. I remember there was something where we had asked students, is there an adult at school that you can talk to, or something like that?
It's up at the top, Bill.
Yeah. But I'm wondering, so these are students responding to this, which is to me a dramatic drop.
Right. But
Yeah.
our original prompt was, there is at least one trusted adult at
Right.
school whom I will seek out if I have a problem. That was our original survey question.
Yeah, so that's dropped by half, and this one to me is about as similar between the questions as many of them have been. Some of them have been a stretch. Did the youth troop survey ask a similar question to say students with their peers, that there is a peer student at school that I would feel could listen to me or I'm engaged with? Because if there's not, we may want to explore that a little bit. That's something that I would very much like to ask our students, and you're right, the elementary school students, God love them, they're well taken care of and they have the same teacher in class the whole time. Middle school and high school, as we know, is different. And I'm concerned about the engagement, and we may want to explore making that inquiry on a similar sort of question of students to students, peer-to-peer relationships.
No, I think that your point is well taken. One thing I want to remind everyone about is that the year that we qualified parenthetically who adults could be at school, coaches, principals, librarians, teachers, there are a lot of people that could qualify as an adult at school. Our rate on strongly agree increased that year. They didn't qualify it in this question, and so it makes me wonder if we went backwards in terms of student perception around what do they mean by adults. Just a thought.
I also wonder, and a lot of times people blame everything on COVID, but sometimes it's just the easy default. But in all seriousness, I wonder. I mean, we've wore masks, we've physically distanced, we've taught over the computer, we've separated. I wonder if this is partially part of that. Where it's just. Our society is just now starting to kind of come back together. And so I'm guessing, pure guess, but I think that has a pretty good indicator or a question. I mean, let's say a student is stressed out. Oh man, I might've been exposed to somebody at a party that might've had COVID. Do I go to school? Do I not? Do I ask the teacher? If I ask the teacher and they say, get out of here or whatever. I mean, just that kind of anxiety, those kind of things. I wonder how much that might have actually, I'm not pointing that way. I just wonder, it'll be interesting to see over the next year or two how that might change or not. Now that we get kind of back to what I would call more of a normal type of a societal environment.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really interesting perspective. Keep in mind that when kids took this survey last year, they were all having class on a screen with little boxes. That's how they were communicating and learning. So there's that difference too, right? It was distance learning versus in-person now when they took the survey.
And I'd also like to make the comment, and I work in a school and I know how emotions go with a lot of the students and things. And when you put the sentence in there that says, when I'm feeling upset, it makes them seem vulnerable. And kids don't usually want to seem vulnerable. So they may respond negatively to that, saying that, well, I'm not upset. You can't tell me I'm upset or I have a problem. As opposed to the top part that says, is there at least one person they seek out if I have a problem instead of when I have a problem. A little bit of a dynamic there with semantics, but it makes a difference to the mind of a 14-year-old. I'm with it every day. I can read through between the lines on this one.
How about the minds of these 6?
Do you want to be told when you're feeling upset or if you're feeling upset? That's the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've talked about this problem before I've seen this one. I think, and Ava and I were saying, a lot of the time we're like, yeah, there are adults that we could go to, but those definitely aren't our first
go-tos.
So I think a lot of people might be like, maybe, but I wouldn't. So they just don't rate it positively. Whereas I'm like, I guess if I was out of my first 7 options, I might talk to one of my teachers, but they're just not very high up on the list. So I think that might be one of the reasons. But yeah.
We're not laughing at you. We get it. It makes sense.
And in reality, the question actually does have an answer because there are social emotional counselors and there are teachers that are there for you. But I do agree with that most probably think it's, if you were to feel upset, are you going to speak to them? Where probably more people are going to be like, no. Which maybe a different phrasing could help with that, because I think the answer is yes, but if that's in someone's comfort level, it would be a completely different answer.
Good. Did you have something to add?
I think the parentheticals you were talking about before, I remember answering that question either 1 or 2 years ago and just saying coaches and learning all those things listed really made me think, oh yeah, I can talk to this person too. I'm not just thinking about my teachers, but maybe parentheticals really would increase.
So qualifying what we mean by adults. Good.
And I want to say what Rich was saying about how, since it was Zoom last year and it was all distance learning, it was if you're in person seeing your teacher every day, that might be something that you're more like, oh, I'll stay after class and mention it to them. But when it's in Zoom, it's less, you don't want to just sit there on a screen because it's a lot more uncomfortable, as well as it's harder to go up to them and ask them something.
Yeah.
Since your only way of communication is through a screen with 30 other people there, so you're not really going to want to try and go that route. So
But I think that's the head scratcher because 74% of kids last year said they would, and it dropped to 39 this year. And last year was when we were in distance learning, and this year we were in person. So that's the head scratcher. Yeah. And did you want to finish a thought? That was it? Okay. Thanks. It's nice when you have real live kids here. So what do you think?
Great. At the, just real quick, is there anybody in the audience that would, besides those who we just heard from, anybody else who would like to address anything about this? Or, all right, very good. All right. Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome. Now I got to get the next one ready. Hang on.
And now we'd like to jump to 5.2, iReady Mid-Year Growth Update. Lisa, again.
Okay. I'm gonna swap. It's a good thing I'm going to the eye doctor tomorrow. This is getting bad. All right. So as you will recall, we have not administered the Smarter Balance Assessment, SBAC, as you know, in grades 3 through 8 and 11 due to COVID. And so we thought that typically you hear from me in October and I do the annual report of student achievement and I disaggregate and growth over time and all that good stuff. But because we don't have that data and we're starting over again, I thought it might be good to at least give you a sneak peek about what may happen as we're testing SBAC right now, and instead share our iReady results, which is the local assessment that we're using in reading and in math. And this data will go through baseline at the beginning of the school year to mid-year for students in grades 3 through 8. And special thanks to Danielle Beckman, who helped get all this data together so I could present it to you. So as you'll recall, iReady is a diagnostic assessment, gives us a sense of who's on track to master the grade level standards at the grade level they're in, who's below, and who's far below. So we administered, as I mentioned earlier, the diagnostic twice this year to students in grades 3 through 8 at Brooks and Windsor Middle School. And then you can see the dates of when we administered. So it is like SBAC, it is an adaptive assessment. So when kids get a grade level question, if they get it right, this is very simplistic, but if they get it right, they keep going. And if they keep doing well, it keeps getting harder. If they don't do well, it starts ratcheting down until they get to a level where the student is answering something that they can get an answer to. Eric?
So did Cali not administer this, or they have a different assessment they use?
Cali does not administer iReady. They administer Star Reading and Star Math. So they do have the data, but it's a different set of data, and for their LCAP purposes as well. So it gives us grade level ability for students, and it informs teachers about what students need in order to continue to grow. So we get it in 3 colors, just like a stoplight that you drive up to. So green means you are on grade level. Yellow means you're 1 grade level below your current grade. Red is 2 or more grade levels below. So this is for all students in grades 3 through 8. And basically the overall trend that you want to see is that from baseline to mid-year, there's more growth. So kids are going in the right direction. And the same with math, 9%. Then we're going to look at our significant subgroups. So for us, those are students with disabilities, students with an IEP. In Windsor Unified, about 17% of our student body qualifies as a student with a disability with an active IEP. Multilingual learners, students who are learning a language of instruction other than their primary language. In Windsor, for the most part, those are students whose primary language is Spanish, and they're learning English. In Windsor, currently, about 16% of our students fit that category. McKinney-Vento or homeless students are students who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. About 1% in Windsor. I know comparatively that sounds pretty low. However, if you'll recall on the 2019 dashboard, which is the last time a dashboard was produced prior to the pandemic and all kinds of other nonsense, we were in differentiated assistance only for that subgroup. So that's why it's called out here. And then Hispanic or Latino or Latinx. Latinx is the non-gender specific term to include anybody of Hispanic or Latino background. And in Windsor Unified, 57% of our students are Latinx. All right, so in the first slide up top, we're looking at students with disabilities. And we're seeing the growth head in the right direction again from baseline to mid-year. Not quite as much as everybody that you see on the far right, but if you see the growth just for students with disabilities, still headed in the right direction, which is great. Multilingual learners, also some growth, some areas for concern. And yes, this test is in English. So our emergent multilinguals, students who have recently arrived in our schools, are also participating in this assessment. When we disaggregate by race, ethnicity, and look at just our Latinx students, again, headed in the right direction. Yes, Rich?
Question, on the math,
Mm-hmm.
is it broken down into mathematic problems that are reading questions versus just numeric?
No, it's both.
I would, yeah, I would almost,
You're
yeah,
talking the multilingual learners, this
Yeah.
slide? Mm-hmm.
if there was a way that we could take those tests and have some of it be numerical type questions only, and then have some of the questions that are the word questions, word problems, I would almost bet anybody, like a ginormous Big Mac, that our issues are with the reading part of the word questions. And that's why I'm kind of, when I was talking to Principal Williams about our math and the different things, I think as we can close that gap, I think we'll see huge improvements, even more so than we're already seeing in the math.
Not going to disagree with you.
And so I'm just, I don't know that for a fact, but like I said, I've never lost a Big Mac bet. So I'm pretty sure. So the question is, if that is the case, are we working on that specific aspect of things more so than others? Or is it something that we need to get a better grip on to maybe, I don't know.
Well, it's all of it in answer to your question. So yes, we want our multilingual learners to be academically successful in math and in English language arts. And when we're talking about language, the language that we need to make sure that students are mastering in English as they're coming up through the grades with regard to their access to content, it's reading, it's writing, it's listening, it's speaking. It's all 4 areas that we're growing and paying attention to. And then with regard to the content learning as well.
Because I used to, I only grew up knowing English, and I remember taking those word problems, and I used to think, you tricky teachers always trying to be sneaky. When I'd see the answer and how I missed it, and I was going, oh, I didn't read the question right or whatever. And so anyhow, and I spoke English and was reading English, so I'm thinking somebody who has 2 languages might, those subtleties that sometimes you miss when you're going through the test real quick, because if you get done faster, you get to recess quicker. I was motivated. And then I kind of would see how I got tricked, or I tricked myself by not reading slow enough. And so I'm thinking, if I had 2 languages and I was learning a new language, I might not pick up on some of the different subtleties even more so.
Mhm.
So anyhow, it's one of those things that I'm kind of very interested in and how we can do better
Mhm.
in that area. So
No, great. It's a great point. And if you're a student, even if you are not a multilingual learner, but you're not reading at grade level and the questions are in math are presented expecting you to be a grade level reader, you're also at a disadvantage, right? So your point's very well taken.
yeah. So thanks.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about Latinx students. Here's the data for homeless students with the big caveat. 20% of homeless students did not participate in baseline and 28% did not participate in mid-year. So it's not necessarily indicative of our overall growth or lack thereof. All right, so what's the important takeaway? Jeremy came to me and said, so what's the big deal? I get the growth over time from baseline to mid-year, but what's the takeaway? And I actually had to fish a sticky note out of my purse that I figured out the takeaway on. So here's the takeaway. In 2019, when we took Smarter Balance, 48% of students in grades 3 through 8 and 11 met or exceeded standards in English language arts. And in iReady in 2019, 43% of students in grades 2 through 12 met or exceeded standards in reading. So iReady just looks at reading. Smarter Balance looks at all of language arts. When we look at Smarter Balance for this year, it's TBD, right? Because we're administering it right now and we don't have results yet. However, if we look at our iReady growth, 43% of students in grades 3 through 8 met or exceeded standards in reading, and 40% of Windsor High School students met or exceeded standards in reading. And I'm going to show you that slide here in just a moment. And there's a reason it's broken out. So the takeaway is, I think everyone, and rightfully so, has been very concerned about this notion of learning loss due to the pandemic and how much backsliding happened and how much makeup and how much backfill and how far are we going to have to back up the truck and what really happened and how bad is it? And as you can see, not that bad. If we're using our iReady data as an indicator of what's going to come back on Smarter Balance and we compare ourselves to pre-pandemic, not too bad on the backsliding. So that's the takeaway. And then Windsor High School is different because they did not administer a baseline at the beginning of the year like 3 through 8 did. They administered their baseline and only in reading January 3rd through 21st. So that's why I didn't put them in with the other aggregate. And here's what we have. So students with disabilities versus Windsor High School. And again, this is just their baseline that they did in January. They're going to administer reading again right now, actually, and into next week so that we can take a look at growth over time. And that's all of Windsor High School students, not just 11th graders. And as you'll recall, only 11th graders take SBAC. So this gives us a little bit more school-wide data around high school students and their reading abilities. So 40% of students were on grade level in January at Windsor High School, whereas 22% of students with disabilities were. 40% of all students and 2% of multilingual learners. And then that last one on the bottom, 28% of Latinx students versus 40% of all students who took it. And that's all I have for you. Questions? Sorry, it's a data-heavy evening.
Is there anybody in the audience that would like to ask any questions on? Okay, I just need whoever wants to just come up to the podium. Thank you.
I took statistics twice, not of my own volition, but
The only thing I need.
Sorry.
I know who you are, but I just
I'm
need.
James Brooks.
There you go. Thanks.
I teach 4th grade at Kalikimaka. I was curious, like what becomes statistically significant when we look at these? Because, you know, I've looked at a lot of the.
I need you to talk to the microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Well, yeah, we can. It's just it's for everybody at home too.
Sorry about that. So when I'm looking at the data, I'm not sure what is statistically significant. That's the basic question. Excuse me. Sorry.
Oh, it's all good.
So as I mentioned before, I would say that this is the most statistically significant piece of data that I would draw your attention to, okay? Which is the comparative pre-pandemic, how are we doing? And since we don't have that top right corner, smarter balance of results for this school year, 21-22, what could we take away from our mid-year assessment in grades 3 through 8 on iReady with regard to how it looked in 2019 and what we got in smarter balance in 2019? Is that predictive and potentially an indicator? Hope so. And it also shows us that from 2019 to 21-22, we didn't experience as much of a backslide in learning based on distance learning in the pandemic as we feared. Okay, does that help? Yeah.
And I might add that while being 2 grade levels below is not something we strive for, but every other area did increase. We made improvement from August to March or whatever the time frames were. So anytime students are improving, even if it's just a couple percentage points, to me, that's significant. So.
Anybody else from the audience? Jackson.
I'm Jackson Caligari. I did that whole thing earlier, so either you're welcome or sorry for that. But when we look at comparing something to grade level, is that the same level at the beginning of the year and in the middle of the year? Because if we're comparing somebody to where we think they should be at the start of the year and then that same point 3 months later, we would just
Based on end of year expectations.
So
I'm sorry, say that again,
40%.
Lisa.
End of year expectations.
Okay, so they're both graded on the same scale. So 40% seems to be the recurring number are there at the start of the year, the end of the year expectations. And then, so we would see, hopefully, you know, they're learning and getting better, but that's not necessarily, they're getting closer to or they are getting closer to a point, but they're not getting closer to a greater point. We're comparing them to the same point the whole time. Okay, great. Thank you.
Good question.
So Jackson, I have a 3rd grade teacher who lives in my house. And if you think about when you were in elementary school in 2nd and 3rd and 4th and 5th grade, the concepts that you pile on in math and reading are just, you know, probably a steeper slope than you may see in high school. Let's just say that. And so you're being tested at the beginning of the year of things you have not learned yet. And then you get the test in the end on have you learned what you are supposed to learn, which is why that smarter balance test, the statewide test, is given at the end of the year. I would share, I like the like-to-like comparison of 43 and 43%. I think from a learning loss standpoint, I think, Lisa, that's been one of our great fears. Like, not just, is it bad? How bad is it? And I think we'll see when we can get the smarter balance test results that we'll hear about in the fall. Where I think we may see it is that social emotional piece Ava had referred to, where somewhat it's a differently phrased question from the last presentation, but it's also almost the collapse of the connectivity that we've had with parents not getting into their classrooms. And again, that's a lower grade thing, and students also perhaps feeling that disconnection. So I don't know if there's a cause and effect for academic decline. I mean, from what you just showed us, we're not seeing that, which is very hopeful. But yeah, I think getting the data about what we might do differently, if anything, because of what we've all gone through the last couple of years, is a learning process for all of us. But thank you for your question.
Thank you.
And I would have to add that during the beginning of the pandemic, when we all were sent home, and this district, more than many in the state, did a quick pivot, and we got ahead of the game, and we did a lot of summer work and made committees and prepared and had the technology available in the classrooms for the teachers and for the students, more so than most. And I'm thankful that we have that 43% before and after. And I'm sure there will be many districts that will not see that equitable number. They'll have a decline. And so it wasn't easy. It wasn't fun. It wasn't what we wanted. But the quick work and the hard work that was done here will pay off in the future. So hopefully that's a significant piece that we can all reflect on when we're past all of this.
All right, great. All right, thanks, everybody. Thank you, Lisa. All right, we're going to move on to section 6.1, consideration of approval of the committee for change plan, a three-prong plan. They want to make a presentation. And I just want to remind everybody again that we're missing 2 trustees. While we do have a quorum and we could vote on this issue tonight, I would like to think of this as like a trial run, because I know that I have some questions, and then maybe we can come back at our next board meeting and maybe do it one more time and go forward. But anyhow, so with 6.1, whoever is the person people who would like to. Well, I don't want to be disrespectful to you folks for you've been waiting in the audience and what have you. If you would like to wait till the next time, I'm totally cool with that, members.
You're here. I would love to hear what you have to say. We would like you to, frankly. Okay. You a board knower, you know what. I think what President, let me just answer.
Oh, sure.
I think what Rich is saying is we'll receive it as a report. We would like to wait for action for next month, unless you need us to act on something tonight. Is there?
If it is best to reconvene with Trustee Amon and maybe Trustee Adams, that would be best too.
Yeah. Plus, I have some questions, and I'm probably going to follow up after this meeting with some questions and some proposal changed as well, and we'll go from there. You're going to get to be immersed in the political process of making sausage. Go ahead.
So we can just go ahead and introduce ourselves. My name is Ashley Matos. I'm a senior at Windsor High School.
My name's Grace Tharrington. I'm a junior at Windsor High School.
I'm Riley Zwetzler. I'm also a senior at Windsor High School, and Ava Himmelberg, also a senior. She could not join us tonight, but she might be on a call later.
Yes, and we are part of an environmental and social justice club advocating for change on a local and even international level, known as Committee for Change. Next slide, please.
Do you guys have the,
Oh.
do you guys have the clicker?
Oh.
You were in charge.
Oh, look at that. Okay. So for our first topic, I'm going to be discussing the Declaration of Climate Emergency. And we proposed the adoption of the Declaration of Climate Emergency at a school board meeting on September 17th in 2020. And it was proposed by the club itself, Committee for Change, and We Act, which is a local organization. And this was originally supported by the board, but was not officially adopted. So the Declaration of Climate Emergency does acknowledge the dangerous effects of climate change and recognizes a local, state, and national precedent to combat those effects. So the declaration does call for the strengthening of campus recycling and compost programs, the reduction of consumption of waste, disposable materials, and a plan for hiring a sustainability officer if and when affordable.
So then our next topic is talking about our waste systems program, and we have kind of 3 points to this. The first point is the tri-bin system. So then our first point under the tri-bin system is some legislature. So we have an Assembly Bill 827, which states that the district requires a recycling bin as well as educational signage next to every trash bin. And then we have Senate Bill 1383, which states that the district is required to prevent, reduce, and reduce, and the generation of recycling organic waste. And then we had our CFC Pilot Program, which is essentially when we took 7 classrooms of varying ages and cores and interests and pretty much everything that we could figure out. And we placed a recycling bin and a compost bin along with the initial trash bin. And we also placed a sign above each, kind of labeling it and addressing what goes in there as well. And then we kind of gathered the data for that. And you can see on the 4th point, we figured out that the trash had a 71.76 decrease, the recycling had a 164.84 increase, and the compost had a 221.51% increase.
Yeah, so what we did was kind of similar to what you see over there. So that's just a good idea of what we're trying to do on a little bit of a smaller scale at the school. And next slide, I'm going to talk about what we have to do as a district in order to implement these new tri-bin systems. So the district shall provide appropriate
I'm sorry,
educational.
you said a try what?
Oh, tri-bin system,
Tri-
just
oh,
where we have the
tri-bin.
recycling, landfill, and compost.
I just want
Sorry
to make
about
sure
that.
yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure I heard the words right.
My
Thank you.
bad. So in order for this to get done, obviously the students can be educated and throw the trash and the compost in the right bins, but how are we going to dispose of this later on? So as per Board Policy 3511.1, the district must provide sustainability training to students and staff. So kind of what we did during our pilot program was provide the education to the students via the video bulletin. The staff is the next step though, because once that proper trash and proper waste is in the right bin, it needs to be disposed of in the right place afterwards rather than all being thrown into the landfill. So coming to point 2, we need sustainability training for staff tasked with waste removal, and part of their job description will need to be updated as well in order for them to take up these new responsibilities and this new there'll be new equipment needed just so everything can go in the right place once it has been thrown away. And point 3 is that the relevant staff must receive proper resources to promote sustainability practices. As I mentioned before, in order for this project to go properly, we need the right materials as well as education for staff, since this is a long process and we have the beginning sorted out by educating staff and students, but we need for the janitorial, like custodial staff, to know what to do with it once it's in the bin. So yeah, that is point 2 from that, and I'll have Ashley come back over.
Okay, yes, now I'm going to touch on fund surplus because we know funds are a big incentive for all of this as well. So there are recovery costs that are dependent on the category of waste and the amount of waste that the district collects. That being said, trash is the most expensive and recycling is the least expensive. So if we were to reduce our weight in trash bins and increase our weight in recycling bins, then that would ultimately decrease the cost that the district would be paying for the waste. So ultimately those funds and that fund surplus can be redirected to the green school practices, which is a practice that the board is currently trying to adopt.
That's the conclusion of our slides. I know we might not be voting on it right now, but thank you for your time and letting us present to the board today.
Thank you.
Don't go.
Oh, yes.
Oh, you don't even begin to get to leave yet. No. Go ahead.
So a couple of thoughts. Thank you. That was very good. You raised some interesting things. Some of it is staff positions. You've seen we have 2 union leaders who are here. So that's one of the things that we need to look at from a custodial standpoint. I like the fund savings get redirected back into green school. That's a creative way to perpetuate the program. I'd urge you before the next board meeting to see if you could talk to Austin or perhaps some other people in the district office and perhaps at some of the school sites to get a sense of the dollar value or the personnel effects of this. It sounds very good and I'm inclined to support it, but we have 15 great ideas that come in that we need to balance, how we're going to do them and invest in them. One thing that I thought would make your presentation, and from a district perspective, more compelling, and it's compelling, is how this, beyond simply at Windsor High School, and I get that's where you guys are, but how we implement this at all our different locations. I will tell you, having high school students go down to the middle school level or to the elementary school level, when the cool, articulate kids are down there, it doesn't matter what their principal or even their teacher or certainly school board members say. If they see you and those like you to go down there and say, this is why this is cool, you build green communities in the 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds, right? And to me, that would be a tremendous legacy here. So I'd urge you to think about how that could be extended. The sense I got from you is this sort of starts as a pilot, or initially, and correct me if I'm wrong, at the high school level. I think if we were going to do it, we may want to go all in and do it everywhere. So just a couple of thoughts for you to think about as you're addressing the program. I think the leadership by example of students leading younger students in an area like this, one, gets far more of our school community district-wide involved, which gets us all the more enthusiastically behind it. And that's policy and resources, which are two of the things that we can work with, Superintendent Decker and his team and his principals on. So thank you very much. A very good presentation. Just a couple of thoughts of some things to maybe burnish up the presentation when Ava comes back in. Good job.
If I could just touch on that point real quick. That's a great idea. We were talking about that. We figured it would be easiest and most, helpful to start at the high school level with students that we can talk to and we can educate. Video bulletin, we have access to that at our school. We saw how the results went at our school, and we could see how that can later be implemented to younger grade levels, Cali, Windsor Middle School, Brooks, all of that. And we're even beginning to reach out to clubs at the middle school. So like you said, we're hoping to work with the younger students who look up to high school students, like I know I did when I was in middle school. And hopefully we can start working with them. They can get really enthusiastic about this project, and then they'll come up to the high school, be ready to promote this project as much as we do. So thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say, I really agree on that, and I really appreciate your input. I think that is the ultimate goal, to have this established in elementary schools and for younger children, because again, that's going to be the most long-lasting impact. So when those kids do reach high school, they already have, a big and broad knowledge on recycling and compost and how they know how to do it. And even again with the pictures, that's really helpful. We noticed when we put those up, we saw there was more increase in recycling because kids could see, or even compost, like, oh, okay, I put my banana peel in there and my plastic water bottle in here. So it's easier to have those visuals. And again, like Riley was saying, the video bulletin is really helpful for us. So if we could just push out some sort of informational video or something to the schools, whether it's Cali or Windsor Middle or, elementary schools, that would be great too, just for them to build their knowledge on recycling and the importance of sustainability.
Wow, you guys are articulate about this.
Thank
It's
you.
just to say. So that said, you may want to consider a pilot program that's phased over time. Build it as a success at the high school. So we're politicians up here. We kiss babies and steal their money. So, we're just sort of throwing out ideas to, at least I am, and I think all of us do, about things to think about to help us figure out a way to support what you want to do, right? And so it might be that pilot program phased at the high school is good. I see Terry Oden's in the back. I remember a few years ago there was, and I think James may have come as well. He's ducking his head now. But there was an ecology and straws, and some, I don't know if any of you went to Cali, but there was a very strong ecological bent of some students. And I don't know if that's as dynamic, Terry, as it used to be. So, yeah, thank you. I'm wowed too. Two wowing student presentations tonight.
Yeah, Bill kind of just touched on what I was going to mention next, is that not knowing if you were at Cali or not, and I saw some heads shaking no, so that's okay. You got great programs everywhere. But Mr. Brooks, who is in the back, that spoke a few minutes ago, raised his hand for you. If he, that way you can see what he looks like. He's kind of the Cali guru on ecology and recycling and such. I know you've got staff support here with Miss Hadley Hill and such, but they've been doing this at Cali. And so he may have some insight as well that could give you some pointers on what helps to get the kids involved, or what helps to get the cafeteria serving things in a different way and such. So that's another great resource that we have here already. He does plenty for our district, but I'm sure he'd love to help with this a bit if he was asked to. So thank you. Good presentation.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. And now there's me.
Yes.
The reason why I wanted the other two trustees to be here is so that way you guys had more of a chance to get your stuff through. And well, first off, I was wondering why Heidi was here in the audience. And then when I heard you, I can't believe that you are you. I remember seeing you were like little mini you so long ago. And now here you are, a very sharp, articulate person presenting this this topic. And it just reminds me of how old I'm getting. But anyhow, it's nice to see you, Heidi, and it's nice to hear from you. So I have a challenge, and I don't think it's just a me challenge. I think it's a society challenge. I would say that I agree with the goals that you're trying to achieve. I have a challenge with a lot of the wording and some of the rhetoric that you have in resolutions and things that get us to those goals. So I would like to propose to you that maybe we can get together between now and our next board meeting, and we can work on the goals and some of the wording, and I can explain to you why I think some of the wording doesn't fit there. And this is just me. So understand, you have, I'm going to explain to you the political sausage making, right? Joe Rodota, who was one of our council people a long time ago, said, Rich, the only thing you need to know about governance is 3 things. And I said, what are those? And they go, your opinion and 2 other people's, if you're on a board of 5. So you just need to be able to convince 3 of the 5 of us up here, plus Kai. If Kai says no, then it's all out the window.
Right.
on how to make something go forward. We really try to, especially in a small town like this, we try to get everybody to agree on everything and find that sweet spot in the middle. So with that said, again, I agree with the goals. I think we all agree with the goals. I just have, there's some of the language that I have a sticking point with. And if you guys are willing to, I'd be more than happy to meet with you. And if maybe one other board member does or doesn't, whatever, anyhow, and kind of go over that. So that way I can explain to you why I think certain phrases or certain things don't fit with your goal, or they distract from maybe the goal. So I'm trying to figure out how we can get a 5-0 vote on this thing. And I'd love to work with you guys. I'm pretty busy and I will make the time to do it.
Thank you.
Over the next, I like to even do it maybe in the next week or so. So that way we have the time to do it. So I'm throwing that out there as an option for y'all. And go from there. And so I don't want to spend the time tonight going through some of the things. We can do that later. And I'll buy pizza. I mean, whatever y'all like to eat. Well, they have salad bar at the pizza place. It's
Yeah.
pizza.
That'd be
They're
great. Yeah,
smart.
we really appreciate your
Rich.
input on that and just taking the time. And I think too, just any like way that maybe we could talk about the steps and what to do from here to translate it into a more like board understandable language and how we could really implement it.
Yeah. And so anyhow,
I just want to acknowledge the fact that they've worked really hard to get to this stage. They've had to get through me, and we've gone back and forth on lots of language, and they've given me my own presentation. I was super impressed, just like you guys. And so they really have worked hard to get here. And I know that Austin is also part of this process. He actually owns a lot of this. And so I'm going to kick it over to him.
Yeah, I'll reach out to you guys over this next month and we'll get ready, and then we're going to get a 5-0 vote from that board right there. Sound good? It was.
We know you want to vote yes.
They do.
yeah, no, and it is. And some of the things are small, but I've earned this gray hair. And sometimes people will say something, and then somebody 5 years later will take a phrase and they will broaden the meaning of it to something else. I want us to be very specific about what we're trying to do and what we're trying to be. And so again, I want to work from our goals that I think we all agree on and work our way backwards to the language that we can all agree on. I think and so anyhow, so one of your compatriots would like to, our board trustee Kai would like to talk to you guys a little bit.
So I wanted to say, thank you guys for your presentation. I think it was also very well thought out. And I also appreciate you guys spearheading sustainability and also making our campus more green. And I see the positive effects, and I think they're all positive what CFC does. I remember working with Miss Hadley Hill in Key Club and joining with Community for Change and helping you guys out with the gardens last year. And not only that, but also I am also seeing more of those signs on the campus, and I can also see that they're helping more students out, and also they have helped me out. So thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And before we go too much further, I see 2 folks standing right behind you. Do you guys? Do
You want to
like
yield some of your time, or you
Yes.
don't got it if you don't want to?
Public comment.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The CFC advisor. But
Only if you stand up here.
Well, I'll tell you what. So it's I'm going to take a pause. I'm going to bring it out open this up to public comment for anybody else that would like to, but y'all can hang tight so that way you can answer any questions that might come up. That would be great. And so if you come up, that'd be awesome.
Hi, so my name is Lisa Hadley Hill, and I am the CFC advisor and a science teacher at the high school. So I just kind of want to address first, maybe a little bit of background. The student's voice is that's why I let them speak, and I'm doing the public comment. Some background first on what the situation is at the high school. So we do have some amazing programs at Cali where there is some great recycling happening and some compost happening. The town of Windsor is very forward thinking also in terms of our environmental sustainability. Just looking right here, that is not something that is currently happening at the high school at all. We have trash and recycling completely mixed. In the classrooms, students and teachers are separating the trash, and then custodians are putting that all in one bin. So in terms of just having that background first, the sustainability piece about composting and their language and the resolution, it's the law. So as of January, there's a law that actually says we need to, all communities of a certain size of which we qualify, remove all organic materials and prevent it from going into the landfill. Methane is produced when we put our compost in the trash, and that methane is 25 times worse than carbon dioxide is in terms of being a greenhouse gas. And we are currently at a rate of, it's not, this nice kind of thing that we need to do sometime in the future. It's really now, with our fires in our community, with the drought situation that's happening, we are seeing the effects of climate change. And it really shouldn't be our students who are asking us to be leaders. We as adults within our community should be doing the leadership from the kinder up, so that when they get to the high school, they've already been trained. They're very receptible and understanding. We don't have to teach kids that the environment is important. They know in their hearts, right? So we need to be showing them that as leaders from the district level, rather than having our students have to come to us and ask us to create this program. They collect data to show how meaningful it would be. It's confusing as an adult. I know I wish recycle, and I know that's terrible, right? Where I have this thing and I really wish it was recyclable, so I'm just gonna throw it in the bin and hope that it works out. And that kind of thing actually wrecks the whole process, right? So having the education, and us as educators, right, that's kind of our job. So our students really want to have this. They need that leadership. It's the law, and we can't really sort of push out like, it'd be this great thing to do in the future, like kind of, we all need to do the right thing. It's happening now, it's real, and we need to step up. So I appreciate your time, and I appreciate these amazing students who have put this together, and I look forward to having more conversation about pushing it forward.
I'm Shannon Johnson, and I teach at North Bay Med Academy, and I'm also a member of WEACT. And I actually first met WEACT when we were volunteering to try and help recycle on the town green, and the kids started coming up and saying, "Can we help you guys?" And I'm like, kids in the summer want to help sort trash on the town green, and they did it for 2 summers. We started talking about this garbage thing at the high school. Actually, it started from Sarah Hart, who was a science teacher, now retired. And I just looked up my emails, August 22nd, 2019, she said, is there a group of people on the campus that's interested in implementing something that addressed teaching climate literacy as part of our K-12 curriculum at this district, because we seem to have a problem. We have a climate emergency. The town of Windsor declared a climate emergency on September 4th, 2019. And we somehow don't get it now. We don't recognize that we have a problem now. And when CFC came to WEACT, they said to us, excuse me, but the adults aren't listening. We need help. We're trying to make a point and nobody's listening. That was 2019. We went to 2020. We went to COVID. They put on in April of 2021 a summit that lasted for 4 hours, and they had people from all over the county. The school board president of this county was at that meeting, and they said the most impactful thing you can do to address climate change is have your board pass a resolution. And now you're telling them, oh, just wait. Oh, we have this other thing that we got to do.
I'm sorry I'm losing it, but I'm so frustrated. There is no more time. At what point are you going to wait and pass it off and say it's politically expedient and it's expensive? Our community's dying. People are dying. The planet's dying. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Hi, Terry Oden. I'm a grandparent of a high school student. I think the first thing I want to do is I want to call out Brad. Nothing would have worked at Cali without Brad. Brad made it happen. That's the part where you got to have custodial service involved. It takes the whole faculty, quite frankly. Brad and James, a couple other people put together a training session for faculty at Cali. And all those Cali kids got to high school and there was no way to continue it. So that's a big mistake because we had it going at a lower grade. We can't talk about taking it down. It was already down. We need to bring it up. And I did hear it mentioned, we don't need to talk language anymore. There's a statute that says you must do this. No more time to play with it. Get it done. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shelly Adams. I'm a resident of Windsor and a member of WEACT. And we worked with CDC a couple of years ago, trying to get them to get this resolution moved forward back then. It's just such a great opportunity. I don't want to see there be any more delay. Just get it done. I don't know what language part of the resolution has got your concern, but get it done and vote on next meeting a yes. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Brad Freeland, lead custodian at Cali-Calmeca Language Academy. Just to give you some facts, I've had students who have left Cali and gone to the high school and came back and said, there's nothing there. There's no place to recycle, just like Terry said. Give you some numbers. We've had a robust recycling program going on for over 5 years. We have improved upon it and tweaked it and worked on fixing things. We now have the students doing the paper recycling from the classroom. So we have blue recycle bins all over the campus where the students take it out, dump it in there, and then I take it to the right appropriate recycle bin. We remove roughly every 3 days 6 tons of organic waste from the landfill. I have organic bins that we use, and our biggest waste problem is at lunchtime. The kids take food that they're not going to eat, they leave it on the table. Some of our teachers have partnered with a local farm, and the food that the kids haven't touched goes there and the chickens eat it. So it's definitely being recycled. But we've worked very, very closely with our Sonoma Resource Recovery, who is our garbage company. And we have signage all over the campus. We have signage on the cans. But as everybody has said, it takes a village. We are only about 40% of where we should be because we don't have full support of the staff. So I'm just speaking from experience and where things are at our particular campus. So thank you.
Could I have a point of clarification real quick as well? So the implementation of the waste law, that is a separate, that's happening irrespective of the passing of a resolution. The passing of the resolution is in addition to implementing the waste law, and it's showing that the board is really just taking a stand. We're going to implement the waste law as its law, like has been said. So I just want to make sure that's understood because there was a statement that passed the resolution, it's the law. They're not necessarily commingled. So I think this is more showing support that the board has taken a stand that this is important to the board. Does that make sense? I don't feel like I'm speaking very well, but I just want to make sure it's understood.
I know how you feel. I do that from time to time too. No, is there, before we bring it back to the board, is there anybody else who would like to speak on this issue? No, okay, great. Just for me, wrapping up, if any of the board members want to make anything, to Superintendent Decker's point, the law is the law. And the law is very clear and very specific of what it says. The resolution is not the law. It's the proposed one. Has much broader language in it. And I would like to see the language in that resolution be a little more specific, a little bit more tied, each part of each thing in the resolution. I'd like it to be tied more to what our goals are. Again, I think we all agree on the same goals. I want to see that we all get on the same highway to get there and make those things happen. The more people that you guys can get that all buy in on every aspect of it, the more successful it's going to be. And I can't remember if I mentioned it or not because I was waiting for it. Junior and senior projects. I want them to come back. I think we all do. But I would love to see junior and senior projects going down. One of the as a perpetual type thing where you guys are going down to, and future students as they come up, they become junior seniors, going down into that TK all the way through, putting on presentations. These things don't cost the district any money, but yet are super valuable in helping to continue to have this education and what it means. I mean, case in point, the pizza box. In my brain, I'm thinking, hey, it's cardboard. It goes in the recycling thing, right? But it's got food waste on it. And then I found out, no, because it's got a piece of cheese on it, which I can't believe I left. Anyhow, and so you can't put it in that recycling part, right? So there's a lot of education that needs to take place, and nothing better than to have you folks and continuation to continue to teach our younger folks as they come up. So I think that a junior senior project would be amazing and an awesome thing that we can do to perpetuate and do that. And that's just one of many different things. So anyhow, I'm not, you guys know how to get a hold of me. It's my email and whatever, really quick. And literally next week, even maybe the latter part of this week, I can get together with you guys at lunch, after school, whatever. We'll go down through them. I can give you my ideas of why I like certain things, why I think things could be worded better or different that would get more buy-in, and at least buy-in from me for sure. And I know I'm not the only person that thinks the way I do in the town and in our school district. So anyhow, I would love to do that because I like 5-0 votes. I really do. It's to me, it kind of sends more of a unifying signal to everybody. And I think we can get there. So anyhow, that's just my thoughts on this at this point right now.
I have one question. If the resolution was separated from the waste proposal that they're having, that we actually address that, is that the sticking point for you right now? Because right now we don't have, it doesn't appear that there's the political will to actually implement the waste recycling, because it's more than that, but I'm just curious.
No, actually, the reason why I don't want to take any action on it tonight is because we don't have 2 other trustees here, and I want them to be part of it as well. So no, that's why I brought it up even before we even got to anything. So
if it was an up-down vote tomorrow, next time, and there was still not a consensus about the resolution, would you still address their proposal for waste recycling? Because there's kind of 2 things, and I'm wondering if we need to break them in 2 to make it easier to make a decision.
I think that we probably can do that, and we probably should do it anyway. But I think there's a home run here. So I don't think, Shannon, is there any, because maybe we didn't ask her, I thought you did, but is there something that we need to vote on tonight that is?
No, I'm just
time
curious
sensitive
because
to
I've learned that if you want to create consensus, you break things down into smaller pieces, and it appears that you have a sticking point between 2 things, and there's no political will to do either one of them together, and I'm just trying to get to that.
Oh no, there might be. There might be. I wasn't differentiating between one or the other. I think that, so that's why I'm saying, let's get together and we'll do it. I will spend all the time that we need to spend with y'all to make.
I just, one more bit of background, that resolution was drafted using language that's been used in Oakland and San Francisco and other communities that have high quality climate resolutions, just so you know, and it was drafted by Michael Kaufman, and then with the input of the students, who was an attorney before he became a teacher, just so you know. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, good.
Stop the debate during public comment.
What's that?
Could you please stop the debate during public comment?
Sure.
May I make a public comment?
Well,
I would welcome him to make, I would welcome you to make a comment. My comment to the president was to end the debate during public comment. I very much want to hear our three presenters, but be happy to hear Mr. Brooks and then we can maybe move on.
Sorry. James Brooks, fourth grade teacher at Kalikomeka. Sorry, it's been a long day. Anyway, I'd just like to frame this a little bit for us in terms of the educational aspect of it. What we're trying to help the students do is help them feel better about their environment. There's sociological studies about if you leave trash in a place, people are more likely to litter. And if a place is cleaned up, they're less likely to litter, basically. So what we want to do is instill in the kids a sense of pride in their facility, in their educational system, but it's bigger than that. I feel, especially now that there's so much more access to information, that now the students have way more opportunity to educate themselves and to take power over their own education. And I feel like we can help them facilitate their evolution by giving them those opportunities to take ownership, like these students have done. Thank you, and I appreciate what you all have done is much more similar to the type of education that I'm looking at, where the students are creating and showing their learning on their own, because access to information is changed. And so now it's how to help the students leverage that information to learn and then to represent their learning and to make changes in the world. So it's been great. What's the most inspirational thing that I've experienced is seeing kids being willing to take their own time, their recess time to help. And it's a rare opportunity that the kids have, that the kids can choose what they want to do and decide what to do with their time. But they a lot of the kids have been empowered by doing that. And I'd like not just for us to continue to help them, do this and make positive changes in their reality, but in their overall education as well, and how to use the resources that they have at their disposal to advance more quickly educationally. And anyway, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
All right,
And
thanks,
thank you
James.
for your work on this.
Okay, I'm sorry, I wasn't very clear. Actually, I asked if there was any other questions from the audience, and then I brought it back, and I was making some comments, and then it might have appeared that there was a debate. I didn't realize that we were debating anything. I was, anyhow. So we will be able to talk about this again at our next board meeting. It'll be agendized again. In the meantime, if you guys would like, I'd be more than happy to get together with you. And I think we're going to move on to our next topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, students.
All righty. 6.2, consideration of approval of resolution 2022-18 authorizing the filling of applications for transitional kindergarten facilities grants. And this is by Austin.
So this resolution is part of Assembly Bill 130. It was passed by the governor on July 9th, 2021. It's a resolution putting us on a list for TK funding from the state, and the first round of funding applications must be turned in by the end of April. So we're getting this to you and turning it right over to them tomorrow. Just because we're put on that list doesn't mean that we're going to be selected in the first round. A lot of times they decide based off demographics. And so depending on where we fall on the list determines when we get our funding for the new TK classes.
Okay. Question. So I'd like to make a motion, then we'll go from there. I'd like to make a motion that we approve this resolution. Need a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and then we need to do a roll call. But is there any discussion before?
You would ask if there's public comment.
Yeah, no, I meant amongst the board first before I went out. Okay, is there any comment from the public? Seeing none, bring it back to the board.
So we have begun already without the funding, correct? Kind of describe the process of how we're already doing a transitional
Yeah.
TK and things.
Good question. So we're doing at Maddie Washburn, we already have current buildings in place that can house these. So our capacity is large enough at Maddie Washburn for this change. So we're going through right now and kind of updating the toilets down to TK levels and putting windows and things like that for safety reasons, and all the classrooms, getting them ready. But for the most part, we already have the buildings on campus there. When we were to get this funding, it'd be to build new modernized TK buildings in kind of a little safe pod there, along with a new playground.
And when they consider us for funding,
Mhm.
I mean, every district in the state is probably looking for this funding, and the $490 million won't go through that. Is it going to be based on our FUMP and what our facility problems may be, or our level of support? How do they decide?
They decide solely based off demographics and census data. So our free reduced price meal, FRPM, our percentage is 50%. So that comes into consideration. They also look at our census data. So I believe Windsor was right around 3% of the city was at a poverty level the last time they did the census data. So then they put us accordingly on the list. And then when the next round of funding comes, if we don't get the first round, then we'll get the second round. No problem. Thanks, Eric.
Okay, Jen, could you have a roll call, please?
Rich Carnation,
Yes.
Bill Adams,
Yes.
Eric Heights,
Yes.
Malinali, and Stephanie are absent.
Thank you. All righty, thank you. Moving on to 6.3, consideration of approval of resolution 22-19, approval of total base rent and increment number 2 for the Cali Calmec new second story 14 classroom building. Back to Austin.
So for this one, I'm going to bring Brian up to the podium, and he's going to explain a little bit about this item.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees. So I'm excited to present the amendment for the Cali Calmacac portable replacement project. This is for increment 2, pending DSA approval. So with increment 2, we are building a 2-story 14 classroom building. We are going to add a shade structure, play structure, bioswales, and planter areas around the building, as well as a new kinder restroom to replace the portable restroom building on the campus. This new addition will replace 13 portables that are in disrepair, and will give the students and staff a new modern facility and learning environment to help maintain the school's excellent track record, as well as adding outdoor play areas and congregation areas, which are greatly needed over at Cali. It's a really tight campus as is right now. So in preparation for DSA approval, Arts Builder, the general contractor, has given this, the district a constructability review. They also reviewed the documents to avoid any scope gaps between the trades. And we have met pretty frequently with the site to go over laydown areas and the fencing plan, and to avoid any further disruptions during construction. So on April 13th, Arts provided the total base rent in the amount of $16,700,413.12. The team bid out the project. We solicited local contractors as much as we could, and selected them based on cost and the best value to the district. Fortunately, using the lease back method, we had more of a chance to bring in those local contractors who abide by the skilled workforce requirements. And by doing this, we were able to keep a lot of the core team from increment 1, which is the temporary housing during the construction of the new project. So over the course of increment 1, the project team has shown that they're team players and are pretty upfront with their issues. The project manager from Arts was here earlier, but he was here with his 1-year-old, so he had to leave a little early. So so far, I'm excited to work with the team. It's been a really collaborative process.
Brian, Jackson, could you do me a favor and can you guys hang on for just a second? I will be right back. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, Brian.
Oh yeah, no worries. So the total base rent does include a 6% contingency for any unforeseen issues that may occur during the construction. We also added many allowances. We're going to try to repair some of the site concrete around the admin building, as well as other unforeseen issues. Like I know we have some transite piping. So in case we encounter any of that, we have some allowances to fix those. So the allowances and contingencies are in the amount of $1,178,794.32. So any of those monies that aren't used will be credited back to the district. And as I mentioned before, we have a pretty collaborative team, so I expect a good amount of that to be given back to the district. And then the total base rent was reviewed with the district administration and confirmed to move forward with the board resolution.
Thank you, Brian. In the future, when we have a contractor here, please let us know, Austin, and we can move that up. I'd heard the baby and I wasn't sure who that was, but if Mr. Arns had come, I would have liked to have him be here in case there was any questions or public comments about it. So please pass along that to him. Yeah, that was my only comment. Thanks.
Note taken. Thank you, Bill.
So I would move to approve Resolution 22-19 as presented by Brian, and thank you very much for that good presentation.
I'll make the second motion. Thank you.
All righty. And then there's a lot on this one here. So Jen, if you could do the roll call, that'd be great.
Rich Carnation,
Yes?
Bill Adams,
Yes.
Eric Heights,
Yes.
Stephanie and Malinali are absent. Do you want to do
Yes.
preferential vote for Kai?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. That passes 3-0, 2, and 1. All right. And then give me 1 second here. All right. So if you can pass that over to Jen real quick. That's it. Thank you very much.
Have a great evening.
We need to do 2 things real quick. One, we need to go back to 6.2 real quick. And Jen, could you ask our student trustee his vote on 6.2? I forgot.
Yes.
And I'd like to apologize. Kai, I am sorry. I missed that. And I'm giving you permission now that when I forget, you shoot something over at me to remind me.
Yeah.
All right. You're just so pleasant. Anyhow, I apologize. I'll try and do better on that. And with that, I would like to take, if we could have a 5-minute break real quick. What's so funny? Oh, no, yeah, we're going to take a 5-minute break real quick and then we'll all be right back. Thanks.
misstating with alternative facts in a trumpable fashion. Bravely did we. You guys did very well. And I wanted to bring it. But, yeah, I mean, we're talking about something of the code. Whatever that was. Well, they are, I'm just telling you, but if you think about like when Brian just came out, I mean, you should think about the numbers. $7 million last year. End of the day, when the split of sustainability versus towns, we're talking about, that's why you guys need to come next time and say, hey, this is about $150,000 position. Or sure, $75,000. For some teacher, it's just about the big, some more, some money. Started working with her today. My time is all better now. I come up with a couple of days. I work until 3:30 and then I'll do it back to you. So strong, passionate adults. I'm going to make it a presentation. So I will be keeping track of this. That was the sausage making. School, you got involved? Did they reach out or did you?
I know, you don't understand.
Bella's 23, Abby's 21.
Come back under shield or with it or whatever that is. It's just little things like that. I don't want to bring 10 years. Are you doing that? Always get a way out. I know that. So I think we need to get together. Five or six students who went some of the really even classes.
And now we're going to go out of state together.
One time on money, you're going to be paying this. So if you have one year, where's that one? I think that's the idea. Because some money is big and you get access to it for certain things, but that other money, you engage with your you're like grade one, that's pocket money, that stuff comes in, and then when it's gone, it's gone. And I don't know what's going on. I want to go through some ways to do it. There, the goals. Well, and those not only I really like I know what the word means. Sometimes people will look at a word and say like, right? That those are things, but then down the road, we'll say, hey, you said after the wonderful English. Well, everybody has. You know, that's the natural pace. That's what I would say. You go back and you go. They match students. Well. See how this word out.
The teacher would email me back to contact. Next year.
I'm trying to see and take my spot.
Yeah, I know. I remember I found so just basically nailing down on the system.
We're going, let's finish it. Oh, God. You get it.
You're famous, and you're on TV, and you're up there, you know, I had no idea that I had this skill and talent to make old people laugh. But I obviously do, and now I'm getting a lot of money, and 1% of it is going to that guy who actually started my career. But I'd like to, if I
Mediate a little bit.
It's common, again, we all have the same goal, right? So we have a common goal, then put together language to make the goal work. It's pretty excellent, pretty easy.
It's just collaboration, because there is only so much we can do. We did pull money from our funds from our club that we raised from fundraisers, big sales, stuff like that to put towards getting these bids on Amazon or whatever to put around school. So there's only so much we can do, and now it's like and even just like what you already have over here with the that would be great. I'll just send copies later.
All good. This is one of those in my history class, my history teacher was saying like. So she kind of like gave up on that.
Yeah.
There was the guy who comes down every day after school. It has been bringing that out. Anyhow, we gotta get back to it, but anyhow, look forward to getting it. Paging Dr. Adams. Paging Dr. Adams.
All right, it's the final push.
All right, I'd like to bring the meeting back to order. Thank you. We're going to jump on 6.4, consideration of approval of resolution 2022-20, authorizing the approval of the final class God, I'm having it's the sucker. Approval of the final classified layoffs for 21-22.
Good evening. So this is a formality in which we have to pass and approve a final resolution and then issue final notices that the board's adopted. So we met all of our timelines with the initial layoff processes. And so there's nothing new for us to really discuss other than just going through this process. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you guys have any. Otherwise, it's in your hands.
I do. Before I make the motion, we have 3 students who are watching with great interest the deliberative process here. And I will share with you this one and the certificated layoffs next is second worst job we do only after expelling a student, which we did in closed session right at the beginning. And again, not that there's a relationship between discipline, which has gotten the student thrown out of our school district for a year. these people didn't do anything wrong. Frequently, it's simply a matter of staffing and budget cuts, and we wish all these people the very best. So with that, I would make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-20.
I'll make the second motion.
Okay, and Jen, if you could roll call, please.
Rich Carnation,
Aye.
Bill Adams.
Aye.
Eric Heights.
Yes.
Stephanie Malinali are absent. Student Board Member Kai Heflin.
Yes.
All right, that's 3. Oh, sorry.
And Chris, do these people have return rights if we open new spots like teachers get, or is this something that will just be generally advertised for if we need more positions?
If necessary, they would go on the 39-month rehire list. Some have already accepted other positions. And for the students, and just a reminder to the board, the classified recommended layoffs were positions that were created with our COVID funds, our ESSER monies. And so it was acknowledged upon hire that they were short-term temporary positions. But yes, you are correct, Eric. If they did have the seniority, they would then have the opportunity to go on the 39-month rehire list.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. We're going to move to 6.5, consideration of approval resolution 2022-21. Yep. Authorizing the approval of the final certificated layoffs for 21-22.
Yes. So again, this is the final resolution to approve and officially move forward with the recommended particular kinds of service that the board voted on and passed in February. And I will serve notices to both classified and certificated prior to May 12th.
Thank you. Sorry. I will make motion to approve 6.5.
Second.
Okay, Jen.
Rich Carnation,
Aye.
Bill Adams.
Aye.
Eric Heights.
Yes.
Stephanie and Malinali are absent. Student Board Member Kai Heflin.
Yes.
And I will just add, just because it's a follow-up to your first question, Eric, regarding classified, there was an individual that was PKS who holds a multiple subjects credential, and he does have rights to a position. And I've been in the process of working with the principal of the school that has those vacancies to determine which grade level fit would be most appropriate. And he and that principal will be meeting soon so that we can determine his landing spot for next year.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, moving on to 6.6, consideration of adoption of resolution 2022-22, declaring May 3rd, 2022 as Day of the Teacher. This will be presented by Superintendent Decker.
I won't read the entire resolution, but apparently you will, is what you said?
So basically what we do in situations like this is we each take, where there's a lot of one-liners in here, we'll take 2 or 3 lines each and just kind of go through them and.
Okay, essentially, just for summarization, the governor and state legislature have already stated that May 3rd is Day of the Teacher. So we just want to also honor in the spirit of what they've already done.
Start with Kai on this end.
Yeah, there we
2
go.
each or something like that?
Oh, there you go.
Sure you did. First, so we'll just start over the top.
Windsor Unified School District Governing Board of Trustees declares May 3rd, 2022 as Day of the Teacher. Whereas education is the most vital activity we as a society undertake to ensure the well-being of the nation, and whereas education is dependent in large part of the talent and commitment of teachers, and whereas teaching is a profession characterized by skill, knowledge, discipline, tenacity, and creativity in the delivery of instruction.
And whereas teachers are a source of caring, concern, understanding, empathy, and warmth, and whereas teachers deserve widespread recognition and gratitude for their performance, and whereas teachers at Windsor Unified School District exemplify all these qualities.
Okay, whereas excellence in our state begins with California teachers, and whereas California teachers are among the best educated, most credentialed, and hardest working educators in the county, and
whereas the Windsor Unified School District recognizes that the quality of all students' educational experiences depends significantly and vitally upon the quality of their teachers, since the influence of a good teacher lasts a lifetime, and now, therefore, be it resolved that the Windsor Unified School District Board of Education join the governor and the state legislature in declaring May 3rd, 2022, the annual Day of the Teacher. Now be it further resolved that the Windsor Unified School District encourages activities to recognize and honor Windsor Unified School District teachers on this day. Passed and adopted this day, 25 of April, 2022, at the board meeting of the Windsor Unified School District.
Thanks, Eric. All right. Yeah, so I make a motion that we approve this resolution.
I guess I should have said we should vote on it before I said we approved it. Huh?
I'll second.
Okay, so roll call.
Rich Carnation,
Yes.
Bill Adams.
Yes.
Eric Heights.
Yes.
Stephanie Malinali are absent. Kai, Student Board Member Kai Heflin.
Yes.
Now be it further resolved. No. Passed and adopted. Thank you.
Alrighty.
Last one, Rich.
What's that? Oh.
– 6.7.
I'm sorry. All right, now we're going to move on to 6.7, consideration of adoption of resolution 2022-23, declaring the week of May 15th, 2022 as classified employees week.
How about if we go the other
Yeah, I
other
was just going
direction?
to say, and here it is.
Does that work for you?
Stop with that.
I've got it on here if you want to.
Oh, all right.
Okay, so declaring May 15th through May 21st, 2022, Classified School Employees Week. Whereas classified professionals provide valuable services to the school and students of the Windsor Unified School District, and whereas classified professionals contribute to the establishment and promotion of a positive instructional environment.
And whereas classified professionals serve a vital role in providing for the welfare and safety of the Windsor Unified School District students, and whereas classified professionals employed by the Windsor Unified School District strive for excellence in all areas relative to the educational community, and whereas classified professional employees work directly with students, educators, parents, volunteers, and community members, and
Therefore, be it resolved that the Windsor Unified School District hereby recognizes and wishes to honor the contribution of the classified professionals to quality education in Sonoma County, California. And be it further resolved that the Windsor Unified School District Governing Board of Trustees declares the week of May 15th, 2022 through May 21st, 2022 as Classified School Employee Week in the Windsor Unified School District.
So I move that we approve resolution 22-23.
I'll second it.
Rich Carnation,
Yes.
Bill Adams.
Yes.
Eric Heights.
Yes.
Stephanie and Malinali are absent. And Student Board Member Kai Heflin.
Yes.
Alrighty. And then this goes to Jeremy right there. Okay. Hold on a second.
Not this one.
Jen, did I miss something?
Did you miss something?
This was.
No, that's just for me.
Oh.
You can just pass it back in the folder, please.
There we go. Please. Alrighty, moving on to 7.1, future school board agenda items. Anything from anybody? Nope. Alrighty. And 8.1, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I motion to adjourn.
I'll second. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Got it. Thank you.